The Zephyrian royal court had never been kind to Princess Liana. At barely 3 feet tall in a species where height determined social status, and with her left wing permanently damaged from birth, she was an embarrassment to the towering, graceful beings who ruled the crystal spires of Zephyr Prime. Her own family kept her hidden away in the palace's forgotten corners, a shameful secret in a culture that prized physical perfection above all else. Liana spent her days in the abandoned observatory, watching the stars through the great telescope that no one bothered to maintain anymore. The dust motes danced in the amber light filtering through the crystal dome, her only companions in the vast loneliness that had become her existence. Even the servants avoided her, their iridescent wings rustling with discomfort whenever they were forced to attend to the broken princess. Everything changed the day the human delegation arrived. The Galactic Council had arranged first contact between the Zephyrian Empire and the newly spacefaring humans of Earth. Liana watched from her hidden perch in the upper galleries as the ceremony unfolded below. The humans were so different from any species she'd encountered. No wings, no natural luminescence, their skin a curious shade of pale pink instead of the blues and silvers common throughout the galaxy. But it was their words that captivated her. While the Zephyrian nobles spoke in the traditional clicking harmonies that emphasized status and breeding, the human ambassador, a young man named Marcus Chen, spoke with something Liana had never heard before: genuine warmth. His voice carried emotion not as weakness but as strength. When he described Earth's blue oceans and green forests, Liana felt her damaged wing tingle with phantom sensation, as if she could almost fly through those alien skies. The formal negotiations dragged on for days. Each evening, Liana crept closer to the guest quarters, drawn by the sound of the humans sharing stories among themselves. Unlike Zephyrian discourse, their conversations were filled with laughter, with challenges to each other's ideas, with acceptance of failure as a stepping stone rather than a shameful end. On the 4th night, her courage finally overcame her fear. Marcus sat alone in the crystal garden, recording notes on a small device. Liana had studied human languages obsessively. It was one of the few activities her tutors hadn't forbidden her, and she understood most of what he said into the recorder. Day 4 of negotiations. The Zephyrians are incredibly advanced, but there's something rigid about their society. Beautiful, but cold. I wonder what they're not showing us. Perhaps, Liana whispered from behind a crystal formation, they hide what they consider imperfect. Marcus startled, then turned slowly toward the sound. When he saw her, tiny, hunched, with one wing dragging uselessly behind her, his expression didn't change to the familiar look of disgust or pity. Instead, his eyes widened with curiosity. "Hello there," he said gently. "I'm Marcus. And you are?" "I am no one important," Liana replied in carefully practiced English, her voice barely audible. "I find that hard to believe. Anyone who speaks 3 languages and chooses to approach a stranger shows considerable importance to me." Marcus smiled, and Liana felt something crack open in her chest, not painful, but like a seed splitting to let in light. "What's your name?" "Liana," she whispered. "Liana. That's beautiful. Would you like to sit with me? I was just thinking how much more interesting these gardens would be with someone to share them with." No one had ever asked Liana to sit with them. She approached cautiously, settling onto the crystal bench with her good wing tucked close to her body. "Tell me about your world," Marcus said, and for the first time in her life, someone listened, really listened, as she spoke. Liana found herself describing not the official histories or grand achievements of Zephyr Prime, but the small things: how the crystal spires sang in the wind, how the triple moons painted everything in silver during the Festival of Lights, how she'd discovered a family of tiny crystal moths living in the forgotten corners of the palace. "You see beauty in the overlooked places," Marcus observed. "That's a rare gift." "On my world, I am the overlooked place," Liana said quietly. Marcus was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Where I come from, we have a saying. It is not the size of the person in the fight, but the size of the fight in the person. You've survived in a society that tried to make you invisible. You've learned languages, explored forgotten places, found beauty in abandonment. That tells me you have a very large fight in you. Liana's damaged wing twitched. But I cannot fly. I cannot fulfill my destiny as a Zephyrian noble. I am broken. Broken? Marcus reached into his bag and pulled out a small object, a piece of weathered ceramic with golden lines running through the cracks. This is called kintsugi. It's from Earth, from Japan. When pottery breaks, instead of throwing it away or trying to hide the damage, artists repair it with gold. The breakage becomes part of the piece's beauty, not something to be ashamed of. He held it out to her. The Japanese believe that something becomes more beautiful for having been broken. Your wing, your size, your difference, maybe those aren't flaws. Maybe they're golden lines that make you uniquely valuable. Liana stared at the ceramic piece, her vision blurring with tears. In all her years of being told she was insufficient, no one had ever suggested she might be beautiful because of her differences, not despite them. The humans have a concept called love, she said carefully, where one chooses another not for their perfection, but for their wholeness, including their broken pieces. We do, Marcus confirmed softly. I think, Liana whispered, her voice growing stronger, I would like to learn more about this concept. Marcus smiled, and in that moment Liana understood that sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in soaring above others, but in finding someone who would sit beside you in the garden and see beauty in your scars. The stars wheeled overhead, and for the first time in her life, Princess Liana felt herself truly seen.